All right, good evening, everyone. It's January 7th. It is our regular board meeting, and I'm going to call it to order. A lot of people in here tonight, which is great to see. I've got a full agenda with not very many things that aren't exciting or contentious. So I'll start by saying you guys need the restrooms. They're through there. I expect that we won't have a lot of ruckus from the crowd tonight. We've got a lot to get done. Certainly not all of it is going to be easy, so please help me with that. If you guys tonight need a recess for any reason, just butt in and we'll call a recess. All right, tonight we'll start with pledge and invocation, and I've been told that we have got truly, and I'm not just saying it, two of Angier's finest joining us tonight. Sergeant Cornett and Officer Norris, if you guys don't mind joining us up here. You want to be heard? Use the mic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, please guide us. Allow our conversations tonight to be constructive for this town, to betterment of the society that you have placed before us. Allow us to be good stewards of what you have blessed us with. Please guide us each and every day. We ask this in your precious and holy name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, guys. All right, let's address the agenda first. We've all been presented with the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I'd like to make two agenda amendments. First, to move the presentation from NC Cycle to the beginning of our meeting right after our agenda approval, as well as an amendment to add a discussion of mold remediation within Town Hall as the first item of old business.
I would also like to add, we need to talk about the Community Development Advisory Board, their staff, some discussions on the staff.
Okay. Any discussion? Otherwise, we can take a motion to do all three if you want. And we would do yours as new business 3, I think.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Forgive me while I take some notes here. All right. Well, with that, I think NC Cycle is here tonight for a presentation. Join us, please, sir, up here at the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you don't speak into that microphone, then the only people who will ever know what you said are in this room.
Oh, they'll hear me. Just ask my kids. So, folks, my name is Tony Clark. It's my pleasure and indeed my honor to be here tonight to present an award to the town of Angier. You may not realize it. Can everybody hear me? Okay. You may not realize this, but on October 10th of last year, the population of Angier increased by roughly 15% for a few hours, as over 900 cyclists from 42 different states and 3 different countries visited town. Sorry, I didn't open this beforehand. So we came through town. Angier was one of over 20 rest stops situated roughly 20 to 25 miles apart. Sorry about this distraction. Okay, I need an assistant up here is what I need. So roughly 20 to 25 miles apart, stretching from Lenoir, North Carolina, all the way to Ocean Isle Beach. They rode over 400 miles. They were asked at the end of their bike tour what their favorite rest stop was. What rest stop was the best rest stop of those over 20 where they stopped in all those communities along the way. And I'm here tonight because they chose Angier as their favorite rest stop. So I would like to present this award, this plaque, to the town of Angier, as a memento of Cycle North Carolina's appreciation for all the hard work that was done to create a wonderful rest stop for last year's Cycle North Carolina Mountains to Coast bicycle tour. Now, I'm not quite sure to whom I should present this.
Me
Perhaps
either, but
Mr.
I'm going to
Mayor.
come down there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Again, my apologies for having to unwrap this thing. Right, I didn't want to get any fingerprints on it. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Really appreciate you.
Do we want to have the rest of the board come down and have a group picture? I would think so.
Our-
You might get bunny ears.
I showered before I came, please.
I'm going to say a few words when I get back. All right, I wanted to get back to my microphone before I said that thank you for that recognition. Everybody here on this board and on staff, everybody in town that was aware of it was excited to have you guys here. I hope you join us again. It was a lot of fun, I think, for everybody. And I know a lot of your folks, some of them that came early, spent a couple of seconds to grab a water and they were out. Or I know some people stayed behind for a long time to check out the museum. And I met a lot of folks that day. So I know you changed the route around, but we'd be happy to have you back again sometime. All right. Let's move on. We've got next Mayor and Town Board reports. Dan is going to guide us through number 1, which is the acceptance of commissioner resignation.
So as the board knows, unfortunately, Commissioner Strickland resigned, so we have a vacancy on the board to fill. There's several different options as to how we can do this. First one I'll point out is you don't have to fill the seat. You can leave it vacant. There's no requirement the seat be filled. But I understand that the board may want to fill the seat. So there's a upcoming election for the next term. There's General Statute 160A-63 that says you can appoint someone to serve up until that point, and then the election, we can add someone. We've talked to the Board of Elections on this. We can add as part of the election, someone to fill the remainder of the term, to serve the remainder of the 2-year period at that point it would be. So you also have a provision in the rules of procedure right now that says this is the way we've elected to fill a vacancy on the board, and that is to create a nominating committee to bring recommendations to the board, and then the board will sort of consider those and vote until someone reaches a majority. Now, what we have in the rules of procedure, of course, is a non-binding document created by the board. So you can choose to suspend those rules, change those rules. You're not bound by that rule of procedure to create a nominating committee. Since the board currently is relatively small, it may not make sense to create a smaller nominating committee out of board members. It may make sense just to have, or you could just appoint the entirety of the board as the nominating committee, and then consider nominations by the board to fill that seat until the point where we can have it put on a ballot for the next election. So those are really kind of your options. Leave it vacant, appoint someone, or wait until the next election.
Okay. Well, Dan, you'll have to guide us through any motions that we need to make along the way to make
Right.
those decisions.
And the procedural part of nominating and voting is really more up to the board as to how you want to do it. The main thing is that the board get a majority vote on the nominee to fill the seat.
Okay.
So you could do it, Coach Cannon has an article talking about the different ways to do nominating. You could raise one name and then vote, and if they win a majority, they serve the seat. If they don't, you move to the next nomination. Or you could, open it up for nominations, let people say as many names as they want, and then do sort of a voting. Each person votes for their nominee until someone reaches the majority. And Coach Cannon's article at least says that's probably the preferred method rather than going through one by one and having a vote.
Do we need to decide officially tonight how we're going to do that nomination and voting if we decide to do that?
Well, ahead of this, and if I don't mind, ahead of this discussion, an application was put in our agenda, which implied that we were accepting applications. Is that just because that was what was done previously?
It may be.
Yes,
So-
that was the application that was used the last time this board had a vacancy for people to fill out. So it was simply just an example of the form that was used previously.
Okay. I think some people might have been a little excited, and maybe we're going ahead to take advantage of that.
It's listed as a sample here.
And you certainly could do that. Again, the structure of how we get to the vote is really kind of wide open.
Mm-hmm.
The important part legally is that the majority of the board votes to fill the seat. So how you get to that final vote, it's really kind of your discretion.
Who served on the nominating committee previously?
That I don't know.
You. Do you know?
We may not have done it.
I don't know for sure. I think the board themselves
Was the committee?
were the
did an
nominee.
application, we interviewed.
And that nominating committee is only really being floated because that's in our current rules of procedure, which again are non-binding on the board.
I wonder if the application process kind of would make a nominating committee redundant. We just said that any applicant was a nominee, but then we would vote for.
I think you would at least want to confer with your nominee to make sure they are willing to serve, but
Well, that's what I meant. If they fill
Yeah.
out an application,
then,
then it would be safe to assume they were willing to serve.
right, yes.
So previously there were applications accepted. Was that list narrowed down and then they were interviewed, or was everyone that applied interviewed?
I don't recall how we did it last time.
There was
I
only
know
one
there were
application.
interviews. I don't know if the list was narrowed down. It may have been narrowed down before, and
I'm asking because I wasn't a part of
Yeah.
the previous process, so that's why I want to
so
be clear.
perhaps what you could do is, if you want to accept nomination or accept applications, you could do that. You could also nominate people who didn't apply. If you obviously you probably want to make sure they're willing to serve first.
So that leads me to my next question was, would it be appropriate for current sitting board members to reach out to members within that community? Is it not appropriate for us to have made contact with those people prior to their application? I would want to,
Yeah, there's no prohibition on you making contact with potential nominees. Again, there's up until the point of the vote to the seat, it's really kind of wide open as to how you want to run that process.
Previously, was the mayor included in that vote or not?
I don't recall. But the mayor would be generally a non-voting board member
Right.
until.
I didn't know if that
unless
carried over into the committee or if the committee became its own voting body.
Well, the nominating committee would only be making recommendations to the board.
So then
there's
okay.
no prohibition on the mayor serving on the nominating committee because it's a
doesn't-
non-voting committee. It's
Okay.
just making recommendations to the board.
I know I may be asking silly questions.
No.
Forgive me. I just want to be clear.
No, it's good.
We want to make sure we do this right, for sure. So,
And that's what I mean. So the nominating committee just makes recommendations to us as the board anyway to
Correct.
consider, which
so
is
it might be
why
redundant if you have the entirety of the board be the nominating committee.
Well, it would not serve a purpose because we would know
Right.
that we're nominating them to ourselves.
Yeah, it would only be to check the box of complying with the current rule of procedure, but
Well,
you
and-
don't need to do that.
And none of us had to interview,
Right.
So,
Right. Well,
I
not,
mean-
not in this
in a
capacity.
sense you did, but
well, I wasn't
yeah.
selected by,
correct.
current sitting. So,
I mean, we'll just float a suggestion that we accept applications and we have those applications checked at the purest form of validity, that they are in this ward, which is a requirement, right?
Right.
They must be in that ward, just to make sure that legally they could be a commissioner, and then I think we would owe it to everyone to interview them, and then like we appointed an advisory board. Obviously, this has got much more gravity than that, but it
But
seems
you could
like
use
a
a
good
similar
system.
process. Yeah.
And then the voting part, I don't know if you guys understood that. So we do the first method when we do advisory boards, which is someone nominates and then we vote. But the league recommends the second option, which is that each of you would vote for who you think it should be, because that way it doesn't put undue pressure on each of you. If you're not, whoever nominates first, if you're not sure they're going to be it, but you really want someone else. So then we would each you guys, not I, would vote for the person you think it would be. And then the procedure says if there's a tie, we vote again. And then it doesn't say what to do after there's a tie, or an impasse rather,
Right.
if there's three different ones.
Well, the good thing about having a 3-person board is probably not going to have a tie.
Well, if they each vote for a different person.
Right. Well, true.
Well, and I think if there was no restriction that, at the point where we're interviewing,
it wouldn't be.
we would, we would at that point likely make a decision because we've interviewed everyone, and I think it would be important that we are all on the same page. Would that be inappropriate for us to confer about it ahead of time? Because
No.
I would certainly want to honor my fellow board members,
So you're of course entitled to confer with each other. The open meetings law still applies,
Right.
so you cannot meet as a quorum
Right.
outside of a public meeting. But you could certainly talk one-on-one to say, whatever discussion you would want to have ahead of time. There's no prohibition on each of the board members meeting with a
Right.
prospective nominee, or even 2-on-1 meeting with the nominee. As long as we're complying with open meetings laws.
So in the agenda that we're presented with, which is, both including Commissioner Strickland's resignation as well as the letter from our town clerk, and then the application, which, forgive me, I don't see it saying sample, but I have a request. In one of the items that's outlined by our town clerk, and if this is not mandatory, I'd like to remove it. And that it is recommended that you submit a cover letter and personal resume highlighting your desire and your qualifications to serve in this capacity. If they're willing to fill out the application, I believe that's suitable to serve as a letter and resume, because there are a lot of detailed background questions asked about, boards they currently serve on, information related to where they're at. And then we would be obviously allowed to ask questions within the interview process. I don't want to deter anyone from serving just because they may not believe in a resume that they submit, or they don't, I would want it to be an open opportunity, as is the process of applying to.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly no legal requirement for someone to submit a cover letter or a
No,
resume or
okay.
anything like that. The only legal requirement would be, again, that they live in that ward,
Right.
and
that is
they can
the only
fill that
requirement.
seat. Correct.
And then any whatever board of
Eligible to serve
elections.
otherwise.
Right.
Right.
And I think the wording in here where it says
Right.
it is recommended kind of gives us the flexibility. Say it's not required that there's a cover letter. It says it's recommended.
Recommended by whom? Not me. So I'd like to have it removed if that's possible. Just whenever we get to formally submit it, if the board agrees. I don't believe
Agree.
it's necessary to ask them to jump through too many hoops. If they're willing to fill out the application, I believe that's sufficient, and come to an interview, which is daunting enough.
That's fine with me. We could take out that whole line if it would make everyone feel better. I mean, we'll include that in a motion if that's something we have to move on.
And again, even if you don't receive an application from someone who just comes to you personally and says, "Hey, I'd like to be considered," you're free to nominate them from the floor.
Mhm.
There's no legal requirement for anything other than being eligible to serve in that seat.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I am curious, have you received any applications? Okay. So, I ask that because this has not formally been approved, and I want to make sure that when we do formally approve it, that we're giving everybody the same opportunity and everybody's reading everything the same way. I think that's important. So none of us, I was not consulted about the application being put in the agenda, and so that's why I'm asking the questions. Because I didn't know the process at the time, and I knew this was the time for us to find out what the process was, for us to discuss what we wanted to do, because I thought sure there was more than one option. And so, you know, while I don't see multiple options listed in the agenda, there is the one application
Right, and I think that was just a sample that was on hand
based on what was done
based
prior.
on what was done previously.
On
But
the-
there's no particular requirement for any procedure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, someone could make a nomination right now and vote on it, and that would be perfectly legal and legitimate.
We are including the sample application from the last time a seat was filled. Since I've been here, we had a vacancy, but because the general election was so close, the board chose not to fill that seat.
So then I'm curious why an application was accepted. So I just want to make that known. I don't think it was appropriate to have accepted an application if this was just a
I
sample.
think an application was submitted,
Yeah, there's no
Based-
formal acceptance
so I don't know that
process.
accepted
Yeah.
is right. And I think especially given
Accepted
that we might
in the form that
we might
we
modify
received
some
it.
of this,
it's on file.
then we should reach out to that person, and if this is approved, and ask them to resubmit. Especially because we're talking about some wording changes, and I think they saw it in the agenda and got a little antsy and maybe premature. But I think it would be fair to ask them to reapply in the window if we decide to do that. So it's listed here on the agenda title page as a sample of appointment, and in it says just before that you guys consider approving it, that the form should be sent to Veronica Hardaway, and I don't know if that is just simply because it's a sample, or if she would be the one accepting them, or it would be the town clerk.
Probably be most appropriate to go to the current town.
Okay, and so that's just a carryover from the sample application, but we might want to specify that small change at least.
And again, if you don't want to have an application, formal application, you could just say, if you have interest in the seat and you're eligible to serve, you know, just give your information to the town. But you could do it that way too.
Mhm.
Or come to the meeting.
Or come. to
I'm
the-
almost
yeah.
inclined to be that way because nobody asked me for an application. You know, it was a willingness to serve, and it was a go to the public. So you know, whatever everyone decides, I'm not sure, you know, what we decide in terms of what date we want to set for that and how we want to do, if we want to do a special called meeting or if we want to just add it to our February or March. I'm not sure how long we want to wait. I certainly am in favor of filling the seat. I think it's important for Ward 2 to be represented. And so what do you all think? I feel like I've talked a whole
No,
lot.
you're fine. I
No,
think
you're fine.
I think
totally
that
agree.
I think that 30 days for an application is probably fair. And like Dan said, there's nothing legally stopping you guys from nominating and appointing someone right now. And so the application process is not a prerequisite to being considered. It certainly makes everything more organized and easier for us to understand who is interested and what their qualifications are if they do an application. But the application itself even is not a requirement to be nominated or selected. If we did it for 30 days and we advertised it soon and we added a workshop in February, we could have someone in the seat in time for budget talks, which I think is an important milestone that we would want whoever this person is to be involved from the beginning with what we're going to do with the budget next year, which I believe is an early March meeting where we start talking about budget.
Probably about
So
that time.
if we did the 30-day window, I think we would miss the regular February meeting.
The 30 days is not required,
Yep.
and it does not have to be advertised. Obviously, we would advertise it because we would want people to come. But there's no requirement that a hard 30-day set. And we do have a workshop scheduled for January. Well, we'll hope to. our next meeting would be Tuesday, February 4th. I'm not sure if we have any, is there a nay say to having an appointment interview scheduled for February 4th?
There's no problem with that. We
You
would
feel-
just request to have, if you decide that you're going to use an application, we would like to have those by Wednesday, the 29th, so that they can be compiled and put into your agenda packet.
And again, they don't have to apply, and they don't have to be in the agenda. And on that same thought process, the person who's already submitted an application doesn't have to resubmit it to be considered either. It might be easier they did to be included in that, but
I'll note this too, you don't have to do it at a regularly scheduled meeting. You could
Right.
also just call a special meeting for specifically for the purpose of interviewing candidates.
Right.
And that may be wise because it could be a crowded agenda.
And it could carry into the agenda being able to be fulfilled. That's what I was thinking, a special call was just a meeting for that. I know a lot of calendars come into play when we talk about scheduling, and so I want to be mindful of everybody and the preparation that it takes to get ready for a meeting, especially a public meeting. I would like this to happen sooner rather than later. So if it's an option for us to pull some dates, or I'm inclined to do whatever. I think a special call meeting for this purpose is probably best.
okay. Is that all right? You guys want to discuss a date?
Well, on the agenda, it says a special call meeting is January the 21st.
I think that's going to be a workshop meeting because we don't have one scheduled. It will
It
serve
is-
as.
It is, there is a public meeting notice in your packet. It can be added to that meeting, but once we send the notice of what we're meeting on, we can't rescind that. That's correct.
I mean, if you want it, it's possible.
And it's already scheduled, and it sounds light.
What about the following Tuesday, the last Tuesday in January being the 28th?
28th.
Is a
If we did that, I guess at
There's no
at
Board of
this time
Adjustment.
there's no board of
At
adjustment.
this time, yes,
All
that's
right.
correct.
So if we decided that, then decidedly they would not be a board of adjustment. Fine with
It
me.
kind of falls in with what we usually anticipate schedule-wise, so I don't know if it would tear up our schedules too much. What do you all think about the application?
I don't think it's a requirement legally at all, but it certainly helps organize things. So it's
Just
up
for we
to
can-
you
yeah,
guys.
Just so we can verify.
Mhm. And even the application, even if you don't want to fill out the whole application, it does do us a great benefit to be able to verify your eligibility before an appointment, obviously, so we don't figure out afterwards. So even name, address, at a minimum, helps us to cut through some of that.
Questions on the application for those of you that aren't looking at it like I am are, what qualifications do you have that would make you a successful commissioner? Why would you want to serve as a commissioner? Why would you be an asset as a commissioner with the town of Angier? What issues would you like to see the board address? Just to give some substantive information, it asks board, civic groups that you serve on, comments, any information you wish to share, and a signature. While those are all great questions,
No, and so it's fair to say that if you don't fill the application out in its entirety or at all, that it would be detrimental to your selection.
You'll also probably be asking those exact questions during the interview or similar.
a lot of those questions I answered on November 7th, was it? Standing outside. I don't want to make the decision solely.
If the board wishes to use an application process, we can certainly amend, change any questions that you want on the application.
I'm in favor of it really being information that verifies their eligibility in terms of their location. I feel I can better hear the answers to the questions from someone,
When you ask
you
them.
know, rather than on paper. Everybody looks good on paper. So I would be in favor of it being informational and verifying their location and their eligibility, and then we're able to ask questions individually as board members as we choose. We said Tuesday, the 28th.
28th.
At 6:30, presumably.
Let's make
What kind of motions do you need for this? Do we need?
So you can notice a special meeting at this meeting as
Mhm.
long as you state the date and time and the
Mhm.
purpose of the meeting.
Okay.
So that would be the motion, to set a special called meeting on whatever date.
Is a motion
at whatever
necessary for the
time.
application?
I mean, no.
I think
because it's not
staff
a legal requirement.
needs to know if you want to have an application or not, and if you want to have just the informational portion. So basically everything until it starts the first question, if that is what the board would like to have. We just want to make sure that we understand what you want the application to have on it, so
Of
that we
course.
can have those available.
And another option would be to make a sort of public notice saying that if you're interested in serving on this seat, to provide your name and address to the town clerk and come to the meeting.
I think for the clerk's probably well-being, she probably wants to accept some kind of paper to keep it together, and I don't blame
That
her
makes
for
sense.
that. So I think everything that verifies location. So I make a motion, we set a special call meeting for Tuesday, January 28th at 6:30 p.m. To hold interviews for Ward 2 Commissioner vacancy.
Is that a good motion?
And
All
I think
right.
for purposes of notice of the meeting, that you may take action at that meeting.
And we may take action
Possibly,
at
or
that meeting.
you may consider it and come back the next meeting, but for purpose of notice of the meeting, you may take action.
Okay.
The other thing procedurally that we do need to do tonight is to formally accept the resignation.
Is it important that we do that before this?
It's important that you accept it before you fill it, but.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't
All
have, as far as which order you vote in tonight, to set the special meeting or accept the resignation, that's not it.
Okay, that's fine. So we have a motion for the special meeting. Any discussion about that specific part? If not, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. All right?
What's the deadline?
Probably a little later in Monday.
If they choose to submit an application by Thursday prior, but an application is not necessary.
Right. If they'd like the application to be included in the agenda, then staff would have to have it by Thursday. But even if you don't meet that deadline, if you show up, even if you don't show up, you could be nominated and selected. So. All right. We need to accept the resignation should we decide to do that.
And then just for clarity, do we want to also set this for the next election to fill the remainder of the 2-year term? So you're going to be nominating someone to serve
That would be
until
3 years.
that seat is filled by
That's the
election.
third year we're in.
We would fill it in the interim until 2025 election, which we would
26.
list it as a 2-year term so we don't upset the
Correct.
cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's actually to fill the remainder of that 4-year term.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that that's the vote of the board, is that what you're going to be doing is accepting nominations and applications to fill until such time as a election can be held to fill the remainder of the term.
Would you like a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we fill the term until the upcoming election in 2025, at which point the public will vote on who they choose to fill the last 2 years of Commissioner Ward 2 seat.
All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous.
All right, so we will coordinate with the Board of Election to make sure that gets on the ballot for the next election.
It's with a heavy heart that I make a motion that we accept Commissioner Ashley Strickland's resignation.
Ms. Strickland's here tonight. I'm glad you're here. Would you like the opportunity to say anything? I think your letter said a lot, so we appreciate that. It is in the agenda. It is public record, several different ways. So, any discussion amongst the board for that motion?
Ashley, thank you so much for all your hard work, dedication, sacrifice to the town. You've done a lot. Thank you.
You'll be missed.
You truly.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous.
If it's all right, Mayor, I'd like to make a statement.
Sure.
If it's okay with the board. With the sudden resignation of Commissioner Strickland, I have been forced uncomfortably into a period of reflection. Reflecting on this past year, all that has been accomplished on behalf of the board and the staff is unfortunately right now being overshadowed by miscommunication, pride, and lack of accountability. Someone recently asked me what I have learned in the past year as a commissioner, and overwhelmingly the answer was that the interpersonal dynamics of the board can get in the way of doing the work. I made a commitment to my neighbors to be the kind of elected official that I thought was missing when I first began sitting in this room in 2019. What I didn't know at the time was how God would use me to be the kind of difference we needed. But I'm only one person, setting aside the past in order to look forward to the future. In order for us to look forward, we have to acknowledge where we're at. I'm asking calmly and humbly for you, Mayor Eustace, to make this right, acknowledge the existing distrust, and do your part to work on rebuilding it. I will commit to do the same. We have to work together, not be friends, but we must respect each other's position. Leadership is often defined not by what we achieve in moments of ease, but how we respond in times of challenge. Today, I want to acknowledge the present adversity and to embrace the opportunity for growth that it brings. Leaders must listen without judgment, speak with purpose, and foster an environment where every team member can feel heard and valued. Despite any personal feelings, I cannot ask for respect when I'm not also willing to give it. I value everyone here and am willing to work through the issues. That respect has to be on all sides, and accountability has to be a part of it. The loss of Commissioner Strickland is a profound one for this board and for our town. Her time on the board served as a powerful catalyst for growth and continued improvement, and I speak for myself when I say that. Her dedication to kindness, gentility, and respect is so deep that she was forced to make this very difficult decision. I commend her courage to do what is best for her family and for herself. As a Board of Commissioners, I recognize that we're not yet where I hoped we would be, even after a whole year together. I have made it my mission to work diligently toward where we need to be, a place where our leadership reflects the strength, resilience, and unity of this community. No leader achieves success alone. Overcoming difficult situations requires collaboration, earned trust, and the strength of a united team. Mutual respect is the foundation of that unity. It's about recognizing that every voice matters, and diversity of thought is often the key to creative solutions. We must continue to foster mutual respect within our team and throughout our town. I am trying to lead by example, to be the change. Respect for one another's perspectives, even when they differ, is the foundation of true progress. And while the road may be challenging, open communication will remain at the heart of my efforts, including accountability of each other within this board when we inevitably make mistakes. Taking ownership of decisions and how they may affect others is crucial. Honest dialogue, especially when it's difficult, will guide us toward solutions that advance the goals of our community. This is a pivotal moment for Angier, one where we must recommit ourselves to the future we envision, one of progress, unity, and pride in all we accomplish together. As we prepare to fill the big shoes that Mrs. Strickland leaves behind, I hope to find candidates that share these values. We have to find the middle ground, the common ground that exists between all of us, that being our passion for doing good things for the town of Angier. Leadership through adversity demands courage, the courage to make tough decisions, to respect those who challenge you, and to communicate with transparency, even when it feels vulnerable. Together, we can navigate challenges, build trust, and emerge not just individuals, but as a united force. I have prayed for God to lead me towards what to say tonight. I want to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. I am always available for a phone call, a text, an email, a grocery store catch-up, which a lot comes from those. If you ever have a question or concern, I want to hear from you. Not with passive-aggressive social media posts, but with direct and honest communication. Even if it is to criticize a decision made, that matters to me too. I am committed to serving Angier, this board, the town employees, and every volunteer who spends their time contributing to our continued growth. We are truly better together. I want to end with a verse. Matthew 12:34 says, "For whatever is in your heart determines what you will say." Thank you.
I think that's very well said. Thank you for
that
reading
goes
it.
for me too.
All right. Let's move on then. Consent agenda. All we have is the order of this is driving me crazy. Approval of minutes. So we've all got the minutes. Are there any discussions about the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. All right. Let's do public comment. Anyone may speak on any issue. If you want to speak at a public hearing, which we have 4 tonight, this is not the time for that. Before speaking, please state your name and address for the record. We ask respectfully that you keep it to 3 minutes so that everyone has a chance and we can conduct our business. Generally speaking, the board will not address your comment at this time, so we can keep it fair for everybody. The first name on the list is Miss Lynn Castles. If you'd like to join us up here. It works for us, but the microphone is the record.
I love this town. I love everybody in this town. Now, I have a question, and I've asked where I go to pay my water bill a couple of times, like 3 months apart, and they always say, "We'll get back to you," and nobody's gotten back to me. So I've got a question. In my driveway, there's a culvert under it, and it's full of stuff. I don't know what all's under there. Is it my job to dig it out, or does the town dig it out? Because when Hurricane Helene came through, water was coming up in my driveway and just sitting there. And it should be going in that culvert and down to the town. Is that my job, or is that the town's job to clean that ditch?
I think we'll defer to staff to get back to you on that one. I know there's been some confusion about ordinance that we need to look into.
Yeah, because if it's mine, I'll do it. But
What's your address?
446 East MacGyver. If you coming up from Angier Elementary and you go to the next corner, like you want to turn to the Methodist Church, it's that house right on the corner, the one with the big hedge that's going to the moon.
Ms. Castles, I'll do what I can to have staff get back to you this week on some answers for
Oh,
that.
it doesn't have to be this week, just sometime.
I'm curious to know too.
I'd like to know. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next is Fran Bishop. Good evening.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Good.
Good. My name is Fran Bishop. I live at 98 Buddy Campbell Court in Angier. Been here a little over 2 years. I want to talk to you about a couple things. But first, I'm going to tee off of what you just said. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the Lord, and the righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. In other words, we have a lot of people that feel a target on their back when they're in office here in Angier. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I've lived here a little over 2 years. My house has been vandalized twice in 2 years, y'all. I lived in Houston for 31 years without a house key, no surveillance cameras, and my house has been vandalized twice. This is ludicrous, y'all. We need to stop it. That's what we voted for. And if we're letting people leave that we voted for, I have a real problem with that. I understand that we have to do it by the rules and we have to put somebody in their place. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. I feel like the town needs to vote that person in, and if it takes a year, it takes a year. But my feeling is anybody that's brave enough to step up at this point, you'd have to be half crazy. You'd have to be half crazy. And I'll do whatever I can to help them, but it's heartbreaking to see how much gossip and hurtful comments are all over Facebook. And it's not by the people with the names. It's by people with fake names. People, if I put something on Facebook, my name's on there and my face is on there. I don't make up fake Facebook pages. But we have several fake Facebook pages right now that are criticizing everybody in this town. Everybody. Y'all grow the hell up. We're not middle school girls. Let's all grow up and let's start playing fair. And if you have a problem with somebody, go to them directly and stop doing this childish stuff. Because I love Angier. I love everything about Angier except this little bitty thing. And I don't like bullies. So I've made my peace. Appreciate
you.
y'all.
Next on the sign-up sheet is Denise Galloway. Good evening.
Would one of you mind reading what my concern is?
Truth is what you've written down.
That is absolutely right. Good evening, Ms. McLean. It's nice to see you again. Commissioners, Ms. Krieg, Mr. Hartzog, town officials, and your residents, good evening. Where's the lady who just spoke? I want you to know I don't deal in gossip. I deal in truth and facts. Some of y'all may have read the story I wrote this week about Commissioner Strickland's resignation. If you haven't, you should. I live at 5953 Cokesbury Road, Fuquay-Varina, which is in the Duncan community of Harnett County, North Carolina. I should not have to be standing here today defending myself to your mayor. He's unhappy with the article I wrote. Well, that's too bad. In the spirit of actual transparency, let me explain. Earlier today, Bob Usness, Angier Mayor Facebook page, published a lie and then had the audacity to claim that it was truth and that they were sharing it in the spirit of transparency. I'm a writer in the local market, and what he said calls me a liar. I do not appreciate that. It meets the statute criteria for libel. You owe me an apology. You owe this town an apology. I'll give you about 48 hours to make it. The Post shares an email addressed to me and claims that the statements in the email are his original answers to the questions I asked him. These were not his original answers, which is why his email was ignored in my writing. The mayor and I had an on-the-record interview for more than 40 minutes Friday afternoon, and that is where the information in my article came from. If you want us to print exactly what you want us to say, you need to buy an ad. That would be true with any publication that is interested in truth and facts. That's all I have to say, other than Ms. Krieg, Mr. Hartzog. If either of you are interested in the knowledge I have, which is expansive at this point, not everything I know or learned as fact is in the article. There will be follow-up reporting. Either of you are free to contact me. If you think there's something I know that you should know, give me a call.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Galloway.
I seriously doubt you mean that.
I do. It's your right to speak, just like everyone else. Everett Blake, you're the next one. You've written planning.
I have.
That's exciting.
Hi, my name is Everett Blake. I live at 352 Gardner Road in Angier, right across from the city limits. You'll get me close now. I'm really, really close. Actually, I had planned originally to come talk about the award from the North Carolina Cycle. My wife and I got to volunteer that day. We sat here for 5-6 hours, met tons of people coming in on their bikes. Absolutely phenomenal event. And those are the kind of events that this board, the town staff, the police, the fire department, the number of people who volunteered for that event was amazing. And you could see it by how well it ran. You could see it by how the people talked about, how do we come back tonight and not spend the night in Benson or in Dunn? That was great. That also shows a lot of the things that this board, and Commissioner Strickland, I had fun sitting there beside you for 5 meetings maybe. Y'all have done some great things. And we're starting to see a lot of that. Also, based on what we have later on tonight, we have 4 public hearings. Commercial, new neighborhood, and then a really big new project. But these are the things that 20 years ago we were hoping would start to come out this way. These were the things that we've been working on as a town, as a planning board, as a Parks and Rec, as fire, police, everything. These are the things that we've been getting there, and y'all have done a very good job of helping us move there. That's going to be the big thing, is keeping this momentum moving forward. This is not a time, as I tell kids in my car, if you're cold, it shouldn't go to 82. It shouldn't go to as hot as you can. You make tweaks. You slowly adjust things. That way things move forward and things are comfortable. We don't have to always be comfortable. We can move forward. So that's the biggest thing is I look at it. Y'all have done a great job. You're really seeing some progress. We're seeing great new development. But then the other part is planning. And I will tell you, Jeff's done a great job. We have a great planning board. The Board of Adjustments worked well together. I'm really excited with the steering committee. It's trying to get a vision of where this town really wants to go until 4045. But to have groups like coming in to talk to you guys tonight about their new proposals, these are exciting things. And the communication between the developers and our planning staff have been phenomenal, talking about ideas, what works, won't work. That's going to be really how we move forward. So thank you for what you've done. Great comment earlier. That was dead on. Couldn't have written it better, and it wouldn't have had 3 minutes to do it in. But thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have who has signed up. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment at this time? All right. we are going to move into our public hearings. Before we start that, this is kind of exciting because these are the first ones coming through on our new ordinance, which many of which would have been through Board of Adjustments in a quasi-judicial setting, now comes to our board as conditional. So these are the first ones coming through. I'm excited. Jeff, I'm going to let you present number one, and then I will open the public hearing for it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Tonight, we have a annexation public hearing for 749 West Church Street. It's a 1.101 acre tract of land. It's an infill site that several parcels in that area of town is in town. This one just happens to be not currently annexed in the town, and the current owner is requesting that they be annexed into town.
All right, with that, I'll open the public hearing. This is kind of neat, too, because we don't need to swear anybody in for this one. All right, any questions for Jeff right off the bat? Well, we've got him at the podium. All right. Have you got the applicant here tonight? Did they want to make a comment?
Do not see the applicant here tonight.
That's all right.
Yep.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this matter? Because now you're allowed to, and we're allowed to consider it. All right, then, with your guys' blessing, I might close the public hearing so we can discuss. Public hearing is closed. All right, any discussions? This one is awfully close to Honeycutt Oaks. It is behind Jeff Barnes. For some spatial reference here, they want to change from RA30 to R6.
That's the next
That's
public
the reason.
hearing.
Is it? I'm sorry.
This is just for the annexation.
That's correct.
I skipped too far ahead. Annexation. All right. Well, this is awfully close to town. Do we want to annex?
Yeah.
I don't see a reason not to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of infill at this point, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
One moment. Do you foresee this to be the beginning of several? Because, it's among a residential, neighborhood per se. So I didn't know if,
So, as you can see on the map here,
right.
the parcel outlined in blue, green-blue is the question parcel. There are several parcels along West Church Street that either are not in or out.
Right.
This red line, orange line is the town limits
Right.
line. So I do foresee West Church Street in this area, more requests coming in. Those lots that are already developed with homes, those probably will not be annexed in, at least in the immediate future. If there's some extenuating circumstances where they need something from the town that they currently do not have, I could see them annexing in. But this vacant parcel here that's up for request tonight, the one beside it, maybe some of these other parcels that are, could be redeveloped, I do see those being annexed in. Our utilities are right in Church Street, so it makes pretty good sense to have it within the town limits.
Mm-hmm.
Floor is yours, guys.
I make a motion that we go ahead.
All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous.
Thank you, Board.
Item number 2, we'll do it the same way, Jeff. You present it, I'll open it.
Okay. The newly annexed parcel at 749 West Church Street is being requested to have a public hearing for a rezoning of this land. Currently, the land is RA30, which is pretty much a holding. See if I can get to the. So you can see everything in the vicinity is RA30. Even Honeycutt Oaks. Honeycutt Oaks was one of those plan unit developments that was developed under prior ordinances. But everything in the area is RA 30. The request is to rezone to R6, which is consistent with the Honeycutt Oaks, even though their overall zoning is RA 30. So the request is for RA6. Our land use plan has this area as medium density. As you know, we're doing the new comprehensive plan. This area, along with others in town, will be studied. And I could foresee this area sort of turning over to a higher density category, even some commercial categories as it's close to the Fish Drive area. So medium density, while it's currently designated as that, I'm not feeling that that area of town is in fact medium density with the commercial and the Honeycutt Oaks project that's sort of bracketing this West Church Street area of town. So staff, along with planning board, is recommending approval because of the conditions of Honeycutt Oaks and Fish Drive. While it doesn't meet the comprehensive plan, it does seem to meet the spirit of what's going on in that part of town.
All right. With that, I'll open the public hearing. I have two questions for you, Jeff, that I think I know the answer to, but let's get it out there anyway.
Okay.
If this is rezoned to R6, what is the maximum number of units they could build on this property without coming back to us?
So 6,000 square feet is what would be a lot size.
Mm-hmm.
Now that lot size, any new lots would need frontage on a street. So if they wanted to build a subdivision that sort of ran perpendicular to West Church Street, there would need to be a new street that would be built. I'm not sure that they could, I'm not sure a new street at 30-foot width and right-of-way could accommodate a subdivision on this particular parcel. If you just look at the numbers, 43,560 is an acre. This is roughly 43,560. You're looking at 6, 7 lots at most, without any improvements that could happen there.
All right. So if they kept the lot whole, how many units could they build on it as a single parcel?
Just a single family home or a duplex without any board action.
All right. So any more triplex, townhomes, anything like that would
have to
come before
back.
the board.
That's correct. Yeah.
But they could do 6.
Right. So that's the next
Single-family
question.
homes.
To subdivide it, do they need to come to the board?
No, they would
Okay.
not come to the board.
And the other question I had was, if this is rezoned to R6, does it set a precedent that would require us to, in the future, rezone adjoining parcels to R6?
It wouldn't require you or future boards to rezone any parcel in this area anywhere in town just because of a circumstance that you felt was okay, today. If there's a request 3 months from now or a year from now and the circumstances aren't the same or the board feels like there's something that's different, then no, that does not compel you to approve a future zoning request in this area.
Be the odd man out.
It could be the odd man out. It would just be there.
Now, if I remember correctly, we were talking about doing away with R6 and going to R10.
We've talked about that, and that could be part of our comprehensive plan recommendations when we get to that point. So, as sort of a refresher, we're in this year-long process of the comprehensive plan update. When we get to the end cycle of the comprehensive plan update, we will then sort of have recommendations from that process that will then translate over to zoning, ordinance text updates, and or removal or additions of zoning districts.
Dan, this is a question for you, maybe, or either one of you that could answer this. So, because this is conditional, right? This is the process that we're in right now.
Well, this is a straight rezoning.
Okay.
There's no
So this is not conditional.
This one is not
Okay.
conditional.
Well, then that negates my question.
Hold it for the next one.
All right. This is the same applicant, so presuming they're not here tonight.
Unless they come in the last 5 minutes. Yes, they're not here.
Is there anyone from the public here tonight that would like to make a comment? Please, if you don't mind using the microphone, then we can all hear you.
There was no more paper to sign in.
That's all right. For these, you don't need to sign in. Public
Okay,
hearings, as long as we're speaking about the topic at
I even
hand.
got a seat. That was good.
That's good.
Chuck Carey, oh, I almost started saying my companies. I say it so often. Sorry about that. Chuck Carey, 203 Blair Drive in Angier. I'm not a professional like Jeff is, but to me, just because I'm almost 70, I've seen a lot of properties. That screams commercial to me. I mean, because I've been down there, there's already some businesses down there. Angier is really lacking in any kind of commercial space. I think anybody who drives downtown and sees, and we got some great thriving business here, but the whole town in general needs more commercial space, in my opinion. So, I can't tell anybody what to do, but just seeing this little presentation and looking at the map, because I didn't even know where it was before I came here tonight, but now I do. I've been down there lots of times. Like I said, I would look to that avenue if that can resolve with the owner. And so forth.
Thank you, sir. I think your sentiment is shared by a lot of people, given that this kind of backs up to Jeff Barnes and then Fish Drive area and lots of commercial there. I don't know that we could directly control what happens to it other than deny everything other than commercial. But
Considering he's not here, I would like the opportunity to ask questions.
Okay.
I mean, what can you, Liz, would you mind scrolling back to the orange and there's like a tan corner in the map? I think it's a little. Yeah. Is that tan commercial?
No, it's not.
I forget the tan. I
Area
forget the colors.
that may actually be like low density residential that surrounds the commercial area of Fish Drive because it was zoned RA30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The oranges are A30. I just didn't know if you knew what the tan was up there.
Tan is low density.
The tan is low.
I'm sorry.
Because
on the
RA30
top
is
right
low, right?
there.
Oh, it may be like R10.
Okay.
Yeah. Our tan is R10
Yeah.
district.
Yeah. I'd be more open to R10.
all right, any more comments from the public on this one? And if not, with your guys' blessing, I'll close the public hearing. It is closed. All right, discussion?
Have any of you spoken with Mr. Levert?
I haven't.
You just made a
The thought that he would.
Jeff, can I ask you, do you know what their intentions are with this property?
Can't base our decision on what they've told staff, but their intention is to build a duplex there.
All right, even the caveat
for
with that,
rezoning, you have
right?
to consider every conceivable use.
Correct.
Sure, right. So the caveat to that being, they don't have to do that.
That's correct. They could build a single family home or try to create two lots.
Or subdivide it, yeah.
In an R10 type setting with that style of lot, is a duplex suitable?
I think R10 would increase setbacks from property lines and does not fit. His goal is to fit a structure perpendicular to, or parallel to West Church Street. And once larger setbacks kick in, he won't be able to do that. And so he may have to do that perpendicular.
And that lot particularly has those funny cuts in it too, so it probably varies that.
Any thoughts, Jim?
Nope.
It is a very long, skinny lot. All right, well, is there a motion?
And you say definitely, probably not.
Correct. You know, I haven't.
Probably not an R10, correct?
There would need to be. He would need to go to his professional engineers and surveyors and try to lay something out that would fit within R10. You know, if you all want to delay voting on this and have the applicant come speak, I'm sure they would be more than welcome to come in February for you all to continue the public hearing.
I would feel more comfortable if we came and talked.
That's fine. We can motion for or against, or we could table it until.
I make a motion that we table this.
Any discussion about that? Does the motion need to say when we table it to?
Probably should.
Yes.
Would you like to amend
The
your
next-
motion? The next February
Board
regularly
meeting? Yeah,
scheduled meeting?
exactly.
Okay.
We're gonna give them more time.
That's
Okay.
February 4th.
February 4th. All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. All right. We'll move along to number 3.
All right.
This is Triangle Land Partners. So, Jeff, deliver it to us, and then we'll open the public hearing.
All right. So this is the first of 2 conditional zonings that you all will hear tonight for plan unit developments. This area, this project is located along Kennebec Road, and it straddles the border between Wake County and Harnett County. So the sort of the county line is this line right here. Area starred here are the 2 parcels in question. This is Kennebec Road right here.
All right. With that, I'll open the public
Well,
hearing.
I'm not quite done.
You paused too long, man. You
Sorry.
can't give me that in.
Give me just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
So
I haven't gavelled.
The applicant is proposing 55 townhomes, 38 single-family units. The density would be 4.61 units to an acre. Minimum lot size is 4,600 square feet with a minimum lot width of 40 feet. With an average lot size of 5,153 square feet. Parking would be based off of the town Angier parking standards. This was this was presented to the planning board at their December meeting, and they recommended approval. Just kind of go through. Here's the zoning map. Currently, it's zoned R30. This area was annexed in about this time last year, early in 2023, and was zoned at that time as well. It's currently in the Wake County's future land use area. This will be an area that we expand into with our new comprehensive plan. Currently, our current comprehensive plan does not fall within this area of town. According to Wake County's future land use map that was done in 2021, this area is designated as community, and in Wake County's designation of community, that is where future projects would be more likely to be annexed into an adjacent community that has water and sewer, like we do, and you would have densities anywhere between 5 units to an acre, 8 units to an acre, or something like that. So Wake County's plan has this as a municipal development type area of the county. Here's the layout. You can see this is townhome sort of around a central green here, and then single family. The applicant will obviously give you a little bit more detail as to their project and be able to answer any questions that you have during the public hearing.
Good now, Jeff?
Mm-hmm. I'm good now.
That I open the public hearing. I believe I saw the applicant here tonight. Would you like to present to us tonight? We would love for that. And while you're on your way up here, I will say that you guys were the last one under the old ordinance and received a lot of feedback from us. And I'm happy to see that you have reapplied under the new ordinance which gives us all some more flexibility to hopefully reach something that everybody's happy with outside of a quasi-judicial setting. So
Since we were the last one under the old way and then you went under the new way, do we get like a prize, a sucker, or
I don't know.
some kind
We'll
of
see
record books or
if we can
something
make
like
it a
that?
condition. Then maybe we'll get you some
Yeah.
candy or a star or something. There are snacks. Yeah.
I had a peanut butter sandwich on the way in. I'm good to go.
All right.
I didn't eat nothing last time, which was a mistake.
I
So
think you
I'm
delivered it
prepared-
very well last
prepared
time.
this time.
Yeah.
My name is Scott Brown, here on behalf of the applicant. We're the engineers, 4D Site Solutions. I also have with me here tonight a traffic engineer will speak on the TIA that was completed when we get into it. But as Mr. Mayor mentioned, we were here several months ago under the Board of Adjustments, and there was some things that was asked for during that meeting, and it was kind of put off and said to come back for it when it was conditional. And we've been working with Jeff and the staff and went through the planning board last month. And so we're here tonight after making some changes based on the feedback that we got from the Board of Adjustments. And we hope that we feel like those changes are, we adhered to what was requested by the board. And we felt like that's it was a good compromise for the town, for the developer. But the original plan had somewhere around, I think we lost about 17 units between that plan and this current plan of 93 units that's being proposed. So with that being said, I'm going to jump on in and kind of give you a brief presentation and hold your applause till the end. And we will take any questions at the end. If anything comes up, you got a question, just holler at me, and we'll make forward. I got to make sure I don't blind nobody. Is the top button where's my red button? There it is. So this is your existing survey, the properties here. This is about a 2-acre tract that's going to be remain with the existing owner. So we're developing from this point back. The line that you see coming across back here, that's actually the county line. Wake County on this side, Harnett County on the back side. You've got wetland area, existing natural wetland area in this bottom area, kind of you see where the green trees and all are at. And then you've got a kind of a natural divide through here. This will be your ridge line. So you got water, majority, probably 2/3 of the water is draining back into that wetlands back towards Camden Place. And then you got some of it that drains off towards the abandoned railroad track to the north. That's why you'll see later where we're proposing a stormwater pond in that corner and another one down here in that corner. But we have had delineation completed. The Corps is in agreement with what we're proposing, or as far as the calls that was made for the delineations. This is a little colored up version from what Jeff showed you a while ago. You can see that the kind of the orange area, the orange buildings here, those are your townhomes. As Jeff mentioned, we have 55 townhomes. Your singles are at the back. In a minute, I'll throw a slide up here that shows you Camden Place and Austin Meadows together. We come before the board maybe 4 or 5 years ago. If time gets away from you, it could be longer, it could be shorter. With Camden Meadows, and not Camden Meadows, but Camden Place, and it's got a temporary stub, a temporary turnaround here in the event, in case that project was ever extended in the future. So this is almost a replica of Camden Place that has just recently been developed and been built. And so whenever you're driving from one to the other, they are connected by a walking trail up top as well as interconnected with streets. You will not be able to tell the difference between one versus the other based on the lot sizes and everything else. So it's going to look like one development, even though you'll have a sign up here with Austin Meadows on it. And you'll have Camden Place back here. There'll be no sign back here, but there will be interconnected through the town of Angier. So what we did as far as kind of summation from the previous plan to this plan, for those of you who were not, didn't get to see the original plan, was this inner area here was also had townhomes in it. There was discussions, comments about more open space, less units. And so what we did was we removed the units inside that courtyard area. This is a walkway with a nice fire pit inside of it. I'll show you an example of what it might look like, a fire pit, the typical fire pit that would go in there. Put some nice landscaping around here, a nice area for to go and hang out, read the paper, play on your phone, walk the dog, whatever you want to do out here. There will be a bark park up top. We have walking trails around the ponds. Along with those walking trails, there's benches scattered throughout, some gazebo, picnic areas up in this area, some exercises. So when you get, you can stand out here, sit out here on the edge of the pond, do some fishing, watch some people exercise, throw the ball for the dog, whatever you want to do. This has got it all. Now, what else we done? This is for the mayor, okay, is we've moved that driveway. I know there was a lot of discussions as far as where this was connected into Kennebec Road and the curve right here at the back. As Carolina mentioned in a few minutes, we did have a TIA completed. The TIA did not recommend any road improvements, but DOT asked for road improvements as a result. So we have a full left and right turn lane. You can see they're drawn in here. That's kind of the gray area. I'll blow those up in a minute so you can see them. But this is where it actually ties back in to the existing pavement or existing street width before you ever hit that curve, and down here on this end. So we moved it as far as we can move it and still stay within our property limits. So we felt like between the reduction in total number of units, increase in open space, and shifting that driveway, that we had addressed the Board of Adjustments comments to the best of our ability and still make it a project that developer can do and one that the town can be proud of. This is kind of a blow up of your turn lanes. You have your left turn lane here, your right turn lane. There will be a little bit of right-of-way dedication associated with that right turn lane, but as I mentioned, it does all tie back in on before you hit to that sharp curve that I think there was such concerns about before with the original traffic and original layout, because that driveway was closer to over here originally. Now we're closer to being lined up with Plies Court. Here is Austin Meadows, obviously up top. This is Camden Place here, the development that was just recently completed. This is the temporary bulb that was put in place until that road was extended. So as I mentioned before, you can see that the walkway, the perimeter walkway, kind of a trail that we're going to put in connects to the trail that was installed with Camden Place. And you'll actually be able to, both of these are public developments, so you'll be actually able to start off out in here and go all the way around. I mean, you walk till your little heart's content out here, and then you can make a big old loop out here. So plenty of places for the kids to run, the dogs to get out there and run and play, and to kind of get away from it. Now, that whenever we revised Austin Meadows, we got about better than 50% open space on this thing now. So I would challenge you to try to find a development in Angier that's got 50% open space on it when you have townhomes and single-family homes on it. But like I said, we felt like this was a good win-win for both sides, and just want to give you an idea of what it would look like. You have Junie Road down here to the bottom, Kennebec Road up here. So you're not like you'll get in here and get pigeonholed. You got multiple ways in and out of, and Caroline can speak about that a little bit later if y'all have any questions. But this is just to give you kind of a blow up of what Jeff showed a while ago with the proposed setbacks, the proposed density, where they are 38 and 55 as was mentioned, and you can see that the open space is better than 50% total open space. This is an idea of what a dog park would look like, or a typical dog park. There is a dog park that goes on this end here. between, in this open corner, this is where your dog park would be at. So jumping back over to dog park area, go around and hang out there if you, whatever you want to do. This would be a fire pit. This is something that we ain't talking about something like makeshift where you burn your trash in. This is something you roast some marshmallows and weenies out there during the 4th of July or during Memorial Day. That's something where you'd be glad to hang out at. Maybe put you some mosquito candles up out there. Is it candle lilies? Candle lilies? I don't even know what you say. There's a typical bench. That's copyrighted, so don't nobody carry that off and say that I come up with that. I did steal that off the internet.
Is there a condition in place that requires these 2 people to be on
They're
that
going to be
bench?
on every bench.
Can we add that?
Yes. But no, they're going to be scattered throughout the walking trail, scattered throughout the along the ponds, kind of get places people sit down like myself, getting older. You can't walk the whole way without taking a breather. That's what these benches are going to help you out with. Good on the back too. Some grills out there that's the pond to the north next to the railroad track, kind of scattered around out through there. Anybody that wants to leave the confines of their units or their homes and get out there and have a little community party, birthday party type deal, have you some little outdoor grills. Y'all seen them before. Commercial picnic tables, again, scattered throughout the area where the grills and all would be at. And some of the, now this is what we're talking about here, okay? This is the good stuff. There ain't even no charge for this, okay? This is your aerobics 101. You ain't got to go out there and do all the yoga stuff. I mean, you can get it all out here. This thing's going to have the walking trails, the benches, the grills, and the pond where you can go swimming in. I mean, I'm telling you, you got a winner here, Mayor. You got a winner. So with that being said, jumping on back here to the overall plan, in case anybody's got any questions on it, it is served with public water and sewer. Town utilities are going to take care of it. We've already done a flow test. Not a problem there. So as Jeff mentioned, we've already got it annexed, already got it. We went to the planning board. They were all for it. I hope y'all are as excited about it as the planning board is. And turn us loose here tonight so we can go to work. Mm-hmm. Anybody got any questions?
I'll start by saying, whether you guys love it or hate it or not, it is apparent to me that you listened to what our concerns were at Board of Adjustment. And I apologize for speaking so much at that because I don't believe Everett was there. And somebody had to carry the load on all that talking that had to be done. So,
well, you hit me with some pretty hard questions.
I was trying to summon Everett Blake.
Yeah.
And I think I did a good job. But
he got me the planning board.
So deep in your packet in the traffic analysis, it actually has your original thing, and I think you pointed it out already. But in the center where there's a green area, you had 12 townhomes, and on the bottom, the driveway went straight, and you had
we actually had to drop some units right here in order to make that driveway shift.
6 units, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
So I certainly can appreciate the efforts you've taken to address our concerns, which were kind of overall density and the feel of the neighborhood and that turn right there, that a lot of us use. So I could see that within the boundaries you've done everything you can to get that entrance as far away from it as possible. Are there any other questions for him while we've got him up here?
I'll be here not all night, part of the night, at least till Caroline gets done. If you think of something later.
When was the traffic analysis done?
It was completed. Caroline can tell you in just a few minutes. I don't want to speak for her; it's still her thunder, so I'll save them for her.
Bad thunder.
Yeah. Any other questions on the site related, civil utilities, landscaping type stuff? If not, I'm gonna sit down and turn it over to Caroline.
Any more questions for him?
Everybody good?
All right, we might come back to you.
I'll be right here.
All right.
Is it this one? Man, I'm just gonna. Yeah. Okay. Hello, my name is Caroline Chiefs. I'm a professional engineer in the state of North Carolina, and I work for DRMP, and we prepared the traffic impact analysis. To answer your question originally, we prepared the first traffic impact analysis in April of 2024, and we revised it in October of 2024 based on the updated plan.
And the data from that was from when?
The data, I believe, was collected in March of 2024.
Okay.
I can double check that. But
Because
so
I noticed in one of the, it was the 1.4 point at exiting roadways that the ADT was from 2015.
So I'll explain all of that. I'll go through my presentation. I listened to the Board of Adjustment presentation, and so I'm trying to answer all of the questions that you all had during that there in this presentation, to just kind of do that, and then I'll answer some questions. I think it'll just be a little more cohesive if I run through the presentation now.
Fine with me.
I hope it's a little bit of an overkill presentation for this size of development. So what I always like to point out when I'm presenting is what we are, as a traffic engineer, the sort of rubric that we use to study intersections. And these are numbers that we just pull out of thin air. These are numbers that are based on the Highway Capacity Manual, which is created by the Transportation Research Board, and that's an international committee. And that's something that is widely used as a standard. And the NCDOT relies on it for their analysis, and these traffic studies are reviewed and approved in conjunction with the NCDOT and the local municipalities if they want to participate. Level of service D is widely classified as the acceptable levels of service. And one thing I really want to point out here is what this chart is saying is it has the level of service here, A through F, and the approximate amount of time, the average time that each of those levels of service experience. So in this particular study, we were only looking at unsignalized intersections, and what we were predicting in the future is that all of our intersections are going to operate at a level of service B or better. So on average, we're seeing a maximum amount of 10 to 15 seconds of delay at these intersections. So just wanted to give you that framework there. And then this is sort of what those levels of service feel like as you're driving around the roads. So level of service D, which we widely see as the acceptable levels of service, we're sort of using the full capacity of the roads. And in that instance, that's where, you'll be sitting in a long queue at a light, but you'll still go through. Levels of service E and F are when you kind of have to sit through the light through multiple cycles. So next time you're sitting in traffic, you can just try and figure out what level of service you're sitting in based on this pretty picture here. So the TIA process, and this is where I'll sort of address that AEDT comment that you had. The TIA process, as I mentioned before, we coordinate with the NCDOT and the town to sort of establish that study area intersection, and then we collect the traffic count data and to determine the typical weekday AM and PM peak hours, and that's what establishes our existing conditions, and that's what we're actually using in our analysis that we're using that rubric for. That AEDT that we had in the chart was just the most recent AEDT on the NCDOT website that we pulled, and it's really just for information purposes in that chart. The data that we were actually using was that most current data that we collected during the site. And then what we do is we grow the existing traffic to the future year. In this case, that was 2028, and we use an annual compound growth rate, just like your bank account. And we add any future developments as well. So in this instance, there were 2 future developments that we were including. Stevenson property is what Camden was called at the time. It was called that when it was doing its TIA, so we didn't update that. And then we generate the proposed site traffic, again, using a manual that's well established with, the reviewers. It's called the ITE Trip Generation Manual. And then we apply that to the study intersections and establish our build conditions. And then we model each scenario, existing, no build and build, and then we use that rubric I showed you earlier. And then we provide recommendations based on the NCDOT guidelines. And one of the comments at the Board of Adjustment meeting was regarding our trip distribution that we applied. And so this is what I want to sort of point out. This, on this side, I know this is probably hard for you to conceptualize. I look at this every day. So it's a little second nature to me. But so this is our study area, and these are our existing traffic volumes, and then this is what we are proposing as our distribution. And so, as you can see, the majority of the traffic we were seeing is using the Amanda Cassie, or I think it's also Kennebec at some parts. We're seeing the majority of the traffic was going this direction, so that's why we had 65% of the traffic going that way. And of course, we also can use our engineering judgment. And so, although it was actually more than 65% was going this way, we did feel some people would choose to take Johnny or Junie. So I just wanted to kind of point that out because I know that was a comment that came up before.
So just to give the audience the turn where Kennebec comes up to the gas station at 55 is what she's referencing as what is Kennebec. So when it makes that turn off, Amanda Cassie is what continues.
Yeah.
Kennebec takes that right.
Yeah. I think to not confuse it, we didn't put Kennebec there. So
Yeah.
Kennebec was turning on to Kennebec, okay, and then this is our trip generation associated with this development. So this was what we previously did in the TIA. We were seeing about 828 total daily trips, and that got reduced down to 784. And one thing I do want to point out here is typically what we see in developments, we typically see 1,000 daily trips as sort of being that threshold onto where mitigation is required. So this development is relatively small in terms of TIA mitigations. And going into this, we aren't expecting to see any major impacts just based on the relatively low volumes. Because once you divide things up between AM trips and PM trips and divide them through the roadway network, you end up just having a couple of cars here and there. All right, so the TIA was reviewed and approved by the NCDOT. As Scott mentioned, they did want to see left and right turn lanes into the site. As I mentioned earlier, all the city intersections are expected to operate at level of service B or better. At the previous meeting that we were just at, there was a discussion about having 2 egress lanes exiting the site. The project team looked into that, and what we're seeing is the level of service, again, 10 to 15 seconds of delay that we're experiencing out there, and the queues that we're seeing are, on average, less than 1 vehicle. So it would be a very rare occurrence that there would actually be 2 vehicles at that approach. And when there are 2 vehicles at that approach, 10 to 15 seconds is about how long it would take for them to exit. So we just didn't feel it was necessary for the additional pavement to have 2 egress lanes. But we wanted to make sure that we addressed that comment. So the next steps with the NCDOT. I know site distance was a huge topic at the last meeting, or at the Board of Adjustment meeting, not the previous one. So the TIA is a planning document, and it's not necessarily a rubber stamp for this project team to move forward. The NCDOT still has to review the detailed site plans and confirm all of the site distance requirements. And they have very strict guidelines for these, and it's based on a number of different things. And I know Scott didn't mention it in his presentation, but he was showing red lines. I don't have it on here. He was showing red lines, and that was him taking the NCDOT guidelines on site distance and confirming that the site distance is meeting their guidelines. And again, it still has to go through a formal review process, but we just wanted to make sure that we were meeting the NCDOT requirements for that. And I just want to really point out the NCDOT will not approve a plan or a site entrance that does not meet their standards in terms of site distance. And just want to take it one step further and sort of show you a Google Earth photo of where the site is and where that curve is. And since it's a flat curve and there are no visual obstructions here, you are able to see. And again, here, coming from the curve to where that site driveway is. Just wanted to sort of show you exactly what that looks like as you're driving through it. And then the NC55 bypass timeline, I'm sure you guys are very well aware that the construction started in 2022. It's 30% complete to date, and the current completion date is 2027. And our proposed development has a build-out year of 2028. And then this is just where we are at in the world. So this red star is the site. This is downtown Angier, and this is that 55 bypass. And then here's just a bigger picture of that, just showing that the bypass is there to bypass downtown Angier a little more clearly. So that's all I've got. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you have. I hope that I managed to answer any questions ahead of time.
Jim, you had that question earlier.
Yeah, she answered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions about traffic?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else here tonight from the public who would like to speak to this project? Please.
It's not about the traffic study. More about, I had a question for the gentleman who came. Like this style of homes, the average square footage, style, you know, there going to be some ranches, some two-story, because the lots being so small would be concerning if I was going to be someone around that area or move there, you know.
Okay.
So just if they have any initial data on like how many homes are 2,500 square foot homes, and you know, the townhouses are what they are. I get that, but you know, and as far as traffic, this traffic study seems, my brain, I'm not in that world, but it seemed good. But at some point, those cars are going to come downtown Angier, so that's the other part of that. But yeah, I was mainly as you know, we're in construction, so like you are, but just what kind of homes are getting done. Where we live down by Old Bowie's Creek, and that big development that's going near us, 300 homes for Meritage, and we walk it sometimes. And the 5-foot setback on the side to me is ridiculous, but that's a whole nother project. But I'd like to see Angie come some really keep its beautiful look at some point, and that's all. All right, Chuck. I didn't announce my name again. Chuck Carey, 203 Blair Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. I think you heard his question. All right.
I was hiding back there in plain sight. Put my ketchup in the refrigerator. Okay. So I will tell you this before I get into this. Now there's only 93 lots out there. Okay, they're gonna go fast, so y'all better put your name in the hat. Okay, put your name in the hat. There's 38 townhomes. 38 single-family homes, 55 towns. As far as the house size, you do have those are 40. I thought I was mashing something. Those are 40-foot lots as far as, but you have reduced setback. I think the setbacks on here is 5 feet on each side. Now, my client is not the builder, so he don't choose the houses. So much like we went in on Camden Place, we carried it through the initial permitting process, got it through the board, and then Taylor Morrison purchased the project, and they're the ones who built the home. So much the same way, I would expect the homes will be very similar to what Taylor Morrison built in Camden Place because it's almost identical lot sizes. So whatever they have out there now is probably what you're going to see. There's not, based on the width of the lot, there are not going to be any ranch type houses. The lots just aren't wide enough for it. But like I said, it'll be typical to what's already out there, very similar. Not sure who the end builder is going to be out here yet because we've not gotten that far with it. We're trying to get through this piece before we even start working on putting the detailed drawings together. Okay. But there's 38 of them now. Don't let it get away from you. Yeah. I don't want to see you out there, Mr. Mayor, out there putting your name on them either.
I'm okay right now. I've got too much invested.
That's the best I can give.
That was
I realized they weren't like the developer.
No, they're developer, not builder.
So I don't know, but he did give us a little bit more information. Didn't answer the question directly, but it was very entertaining in doing so. Anyone else from the public wish to speak while we're in public hearing? And with your guys' blessing, I'll close the public hearing. Do you have something to add, Jeff? Or are you waiting to get questions asked of you?
If y'all have questions of staff,
okay,
I'm here to answer those. Otherwise, you're free to deliberate.
So just kind of in general, since this is new to me and kind of a new process. You know, I have overall concerns that the conditions we have are written properly, and the conditions, you know, understanding that the approval of this does not mean that is what they have to build. It means certain things that are listed in the conditions. They could not build any more units than we approved tonight.
Correct.
But where they are, what they look like, the specifics of that is not something that we can hold them to as long as they meet the conditions that we've all agreed on.
Well, I'm asking you all to approve the master plan that you've seen before you. Any deviation to street network, connections to streets, you know, primary roads, that may be a major revision that would need to come back before you all. Moving a pot of townhomes from one section to another, that's small enough that staff could approve that.
All right.
But part of what you're going to approve is the master plan that's been in your packet. The latest one that we have is, you know, November 6, 2024. And part of the packet that the applicant put together is their overall architectural and landscape standards for this project, and that would be part of the zoning regulations that you all would approve tonight as well. So that's sort of where we are on the conditions.
So as a specific example, they mentioned, I like that they have moved the entrance as far as they possibly can, with the caveat that the DOT has not approved it. If for any reason the DOT doesn't approve it and it moves farther back to that curve, would that rise to a level where it would have to be reconsidered?
Well, as part of the approval, you're approving the master plan that
Right.
they're showing you all. And if that is part of the decision making that says, that gets you over, you know, the hump, we'll say, to approve this, then I would bring it back to you all for consideration.
Would we have to specifically list that as a condition, or is it already covered by the master plan?
The master plan.
Okay.
Yes.
I feel better about that. Thank you.
Yes.
Considering this is not the first time we've heard this project, I'm happy to know that what was said didn't fall on deaf ears. We haven't been able to really be a part of the process in terms of molding developments like this, so it's nice to have a say and be able to communicate that. I am looking at your architectural standards, the walkability. I know it seems silly, but it is important that they can get out of the confines of their house in such a way that they don't have to get in their car and drive and create traffic. So I'm pleased with the willingness to find a middle ground. So it looks like a great development. I like that it follows along with what's next door. You know, I think that bears a lot of weight in terms of how this is perceived.
Any other discussion? Good.
You did an excellent job.
If you guys like it and you want to make a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we accept the master plan as written that was presented.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. See, that was easy. That's right. All right, look, guys, we've been at it for 2 hours, so I might call it very short, like a 5-minute recess, so people can take a bathroom break or get a bottle of water or something like that. So we'll reconvene in 5 minutes, which would be 8:25.